What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Crimson Connective, where today we're discussing the Utah UCLA game with Bruin report writer Mike Regalado. Mike, thanks so much for taking some time to talk football with us. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, sorry I'm outside, but it's also quite nice out tonight, so didn't mind it.
Yeah, nothing beats some of those nice evenings out in LA. I would guess that's where you're located, right?
Yeah, definitely. And fall's coming. I absolutely love fall, college football, all that. Yeah, I love this time of year.
Nice. Where in LA are you located?
I'm in East LA, but I'm like all over. I drive all over. Just that's life. Yeah, obviously UCLA is on the west side, so I'm there a lot. The Rose Bowl's out in Pasadena, completely different direction. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
Nice. So how did you really quick? How did you kind of come to start covering the Bruins? Just for our viewers.
I went to UCLA, and about 10 years ago, I wanted to start writing, and I actually got into writing about hockey and like recruiting minor league players, stuff like that. And from there, I jumped onto a college football site, which needed a UCLA writer. I started there, went to Gojo Bruin, which is part of the Fansided network. And from
Mhm.
there, got recruited to work with Bruin Report Online, and I've been there for the last 4 years.
Nice. Well, from what I've seen, you do an incredible job. We're super grateful to have
Thank
you
you.
here on
Thank you.
the show this week. So let's just jump right in. Before we get to the game, though, just wanted to kind of to preface things. How surreal and shocking to you is it that this is the last year of the Pac-12?
It's so bizarre, and what adds to it is the fact that the Pac-12 is doing so well right now. It's yeah, it's just shocking. Like, wow, 8 teams for the first time ever in the Pac-12, and it's it's so bizarre. The fact that next year, um, 4 teams are going to the Big Ten, um, a handful are going to the Big 12. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd say, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I would say that top to bottom, the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football this season. I mean,
Agree. Yeah.
I still think that Georgia and Alabama are two of the best teams. Texas is looking decent this year, Florida State, but top to bottom, and it's crazy to say that it's so nuts. Like you were saying, the fact that this conference is doing so well, and yet in just a few short months, it's
Hmm.
essentially over, and everybody's going their separate ways. But it'll be interesting to see, how UCLA does in their new conference, how Utah does in the Big 12. Things to certainly look forward to. But while the conference is doing well, let's enjoy it. And we've got conference play coming up this week. Utah and UCLA facing off. So, what's the general feeling on this UCLA team just heading in to Pac-12 play at 3-0?
It's a little bit of a relief for several reasons. On the offensive side, it looks like UCLA finally has a quarterback. There was the quarterback competition with Ethan Garbers, Colin Schley, and Dante Moore, UCLA's five-star recruit, who was flipped from Oregon over the offseason. Now that they have that solidified, now that they have kind of figured out what they want to do with the offensive line and who's going to be running the ball, that was always for the running backs. It was always going to be by committee, but who was going to grasp the scheme, the fastest, and it seems like all of them have a really good grasp of it. And that was the thing, after DTR and Zach Charbonnet left, I was questioning what UCLA was going to do. But after spring ball, I was like, just, full faith in Chip Kelly and getting these players developed up to speed and ready, especially with all the transfers. On defense, UCLA has had a subpar defense since Chip Kelly has been in Westwood. And so to have Danton Lin, a new defensive coordinator, to have a very experienced defensive team, things have really been on the up and up, and it's very positive. But at the same time, UCLA really hasn't played anyone
Mhm.
worthy. So this is going to be UCLA's first big test, and maybe of the season. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's a test on both sides. I mean, Utah's had some P5 schools so far, but they haven't quite. I mean, Florida might be okay this season. I think they're better than what they showed against Utah. Baylor is probably going to struggle this year. So yeah, the first real test. Two teams that are both going into this undefeated, and only one can walk away
Mm.
perfect, and the other one's going to suffer a loss. So you talked a little bit about personnel. there for a moment, and both players and coaching staff. But just interested, can you kind of give us a quick breakdown of this UCLA team, individuals, and the team as a whole?
Yeah, Dante Moore, obviously got to talk about him. He's the quarterback, and just the fact that you have a true freshman going out there slinging the ball, just looking really impressive and confident in his first 3 games. That's just huge for UCLA. That's definitely something that they needed. And not to say that Garbers or Schleid doesn't have that. They do, but right now it just seems that Moore is head and shoulders above the other two. Carson Steele comes in, and that dude is just big. He just trucks people, runs over people. And TJ Harden, which is more of a speedster, but he can also run people over. But what's even more impressive this year is the fact that UCLA has probably their most potent receiving unit. You have Cal transfer J. Michael Sturdivant and Kyle Ford from USC, who have made an impact, and they're both experienced players. But then UCLA also has some experience with Logan Loya, Cam Brown, and just a handful of younger guys who are really grasping the offense. So there is more of a balanced attack. Chip Kelly is known for his rushing scheme, but now they have some weapons and a solid arm in Dante Moore. On the defensive side, Latu is just a beast. Like, he is on track to have maybe around 18, 19, 20 sacks this season. We'll see. He didn't play much in the last game because UCLA played 101 players last week because they blew out FCS North Carolina Central. So there were a lot of stat padding, but there were a lot of guys getting rest too. But yeah, one of UCLA's weakness on defense has been both the linebackers and the secondary, which doesn't help for passing defense. But this linebacking core with Muasau in the middle, Darius Muasau, it's a lot more solid. And then going back to the defensive line, UCLA has the edge rushers, Latu, Carl Jones, the Murphy twins. So there's just teams are going to have a tough time running against UCLA. Now, when they pass, that's a different story because the safeties, that seems to have improved, but cornerbacks might be a little bit of an issue with UCLA. But right now, the fact that you have a lot of experience, junior, senior leadership, especially with guys like Latu and Muasau, that's a huge step up for UCLA.
Yeah, no, I all those things that you hit on, I totally can see that in some of the the highlights that I've watched, and then taking a look at things statistically. That kind of leads into my next point. This appears to be a pretty well balanced offense in terms of yards and ways that they've been scoring touchdowns. I think they have 8 touchdowns through the air and 8 touchdowns on the ground, so very very balanced in terms of attack, and then yards.
Very much so.
800, 900 passing yards already, something like that, and then close to 700-800 yards on the ground. So very, very close. With that being said, how do you expect the Bruins to attack Utah on Saturday? Because this is not a defense that they have. It's not a defense that they've faced yet this season. Like you've talked about, the schedule's been fairly soft. This is a good defense. This might be the best defense in the Pac-12. How do the Bruins attack it on Saturday?
I can totally imagine. Like you said, this is going to be the toughest defense, and Utah is always tough, especially in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Forget about it. But UCLA does have a lot of weapons. Like I said, they've impressed me more than I thought they would have. So I think there's going to continue to be a balanced attack. UCLA, Chip Kelly is just a freaking mastermind in trying to get around defenses. Even if he's like stumped on one play or one drive, he's going to come back and figure out how to go around it on the next drive. So I think there's going to be a really good balanced attack. I think we're going to see a little bit more of J. Michael Sturdivant because that dude is just a baller. We're going to probably see Carson Steele and TJ Harden just try to smash through that line. And even the offensive line is under Tim Drevno, the UCLA's offensive line coach, has done an amazing job. They've sent 1 or 2 or 3 players to the NFL the last few seasons. So that development is absolutely huge for the Bruins. So if the offensive line, which I think they will, has a solid game, everything else is just going to fall into place.
Yeah, and a lot of that's going to have to come from the young quarterback. You guys, Bruins are now in the post DTR era. It's been a couple years under him. You now have a freshman quarterback under center. How do you, you talked a little bit about him earlier, but how would you describe him as a quarterback? Where does he excel? Where does he struggle?
Dante Moore is one of the most talented quarterbacks I have seen, enter UCLA. Like, a lot of people were talking about Brett Hundley, even Josh Rosen coming in as a freshman, DTR, but it seems like Dante Moore is already at that point. He looks like a seasoned veteran about 85% of the time. The other 15%, he does still look like a freshman. He's going to make freshman mistakes, but at the same time, he's very smart. He's very confident. He knows how to quickly fix mistakes. In the first game, he threw an interception, and he said that he was just trying to throw the ball out of bounds. And so and in the game we saw when he was trying to throw it away, he literally launched it, just making sure it was well out of bounds. So he adjusts very quickly.
Pretty smart for a freshman.
Yeah, and when he said that in the post game, it's like, that makes sense. That's why you're sailing balls out. Obviously, to throw the ball away when he was in trouble. But
right.
I think he needs to be tested still. I think the weakness is that he's gone against some, not to, demean the defenses they've played, but they've been lesser defenses. He's been able to do almost anything he's wanted, but he's going to really be tested this weekend, and hopefully he has that confidence and know how to really make adjustments on the fly. But at the same time, he has the coaching staff to guide him. He has Ethan Garbers, who's been there before. So I think he'll be okay. After a quarter, not even a quarter, maybe 5-10 minutes, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about it earlier. At least you mentioned it. Rice-Eccles Stadium is not an easy place to play. I believe Utah's won 27 out of the last 28 on their home field. And if you don't count the COVID season, it goes back even further than that. Mm-hmm. And so how do you expect a young freshman to respond in a place like that is just completely unforgiving and are going to try to make his job as hard as possible?
It's funny. Today I saw that there was a Colorado publication saying that Colorado was getting ready for Oregon by pumping loud music at practice, which was weird because that made it seem like that was a new thing. Mm-hmm. Coaches have been doing that for ages. So that's one thing. I've seen that at UCLA's practices. That's going to happen. They're going to really try to disrupt Dante Moore. And, that was a little jab at Colorado. But I'm actually really impressed with what Colorado's doing. It just seems like they're kind of saying, hey, we're reinventing the wheel. It's like, no, you're just kind of louder. Anyway, sidebar. But I think he needs to. He has to, especially in this conference, especially with UCLA going to the Big Ten next year. He has to face that adversary. He has to quickly adjust and try to understand how they're coming at him, when and why they're coming at him. And like I said, I think it'll take a little while, maybe a quarter, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. But I think he'll be fine. This is stuff that Chip Kelly and other coaches across the country have been doing forever to get their quarterbacks ready. So I think the coaching staff is really going to have, not just Dante Moore, but everybody ready and trying to fight through that adversary, that loud, amazing stadium. It's going to be a challenge, but I think they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not playing at UCLA if you can't handle, some adversity, some loud noises. You know what you sign up for. But Utah definitely takes it to a whole new level. So interesting to see how the young kid responds. I agree with you. I think maybe a quarter into it, maybe a little bit more, he'll start to really settle in and it won't bother him so much. But those first few drives, I wouldn't be surprised if, hey, maybe it's a couple quick 3-and-outs or they don't move the ball as much just because it's going to take him a minute to adjust. Just winding down here, last few questions for you. If you're Chip Kelly, which Utah position group is keeping you up at night? I mean, this is a interesting Utah team. I mean, the defense is very, very good. It's been compared to one of the best defenses in program history, whereas the offense has been so-so, and a lot of that has to do with Cam Rising being out to start the year. But if you're Chip Kelly, which group are you looking at going, man, I don't know how I'm going to handle this group on Saturday?
Honestly, the dude is meticulous. I think he's looking at every position group and going, okay, Here's the strengths. Here's the weaknesses. Here's where they could get us. Here's how we have to combat them. But I mean, I think, like most people, it's the quarterback position, because he not only plans for Cam Rising to play, he's going to plan for Cam Rising to not play. And I don't know, just from what I've heard, it doesn't seem like he might be able to play. Hey, they might shock everybody and he's out there and he's slinging it and he's 100%. Either way, it's something that the coaching staff is going to prepare for. They've seen him before. Utah has been a thorn in UCLA's side, aside from last year, where like even Kyle Whittingham said that they were a very physical team, and that's what I think a lot of people weren't expecting from UCLA, especially their defense. But it's even better now. So I think that it's just honestly, every single position, like Utah is scary when they're running on all cylinders. And like a lot of teams, they seem to start out a little bit slow and will just start, throwing haymakers by the end of the season and just pounding you. Kind of like that Pac-12 championship game. That was just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Utah's very dynamic. They've come a long way in terms of their recruiting across the board. And like you said, often they start a little bit slow, but give them a quarter or two, and especially the second half, and they're clicking and things are happening. Big plays are taking place. What are maybe a few keys to victory for UCLA? What are maybe 2 or 3 things that if they can accomplish those, they can walk out of Rice-Eccles Stadium with a rare victory on the road?
UCLA has been doing very well with sacks and tackles for a loss, getting into the backfield, forcing quarterback hurries, breaking up passes. They need to, whatever quarterback it is, they need to get at them. They need to use their edge rushers to their advantage and just really disrupt, whichever quarterback is out there. Obviously, Cam Rising is the most athletic one out there. But UCLA's edge rushers, they've proven that they're solid. Like I said earlier, it's going to be hard to stop a guy like Latu. It's going to be hard to stop guys like Carl Jones and the Murphy twins, Muasau, and even some of the other linebackers like Kane Madrano, Jay Bryant Strother. They just have to pressure the quarterback, get at them. They cannot let the passing game affect the outcome. Like I said, UCLA's cornerbacks have been kind of an issue. And I'm sure Kyle Whittingham knows this, and he's probably going to attack the sidelines. UCLA has to be aware of that, and they need to really clamp down on offense. Like I said before, too, balance. They need to, Chip Kelly is a master of different formations. We're probably going to see some stuff we haven't seen before. So I expect that not only is UCLA going to have a lot of new looks, they're really going to balance it out between the pass and the run.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's if it ain't broke, why try and fix it, right? I mean, you've got 3 dubs and you've gone very evenly across the board. So yeah, I mean, I expect a similar game plan coming into Rice-Eccles Stadium. Now, on the flip side, if you were going to drop a game plan to attack UCLA, how would you do that offensively and defensively?
Get at Dante Moore. Make him as uncomfortable as possible. Make it loud. Have a lot of plays that gets the crowd going, even if it's like a tackle for UCLA getting 1 or 2 yards. You have to make UCLA earn that. Be very physical. Just really use that Utah strength to beat up UCLA's offensive line. And as I said before, attack UCLA's cornerbacks. But they have been getting better. Let's just see how much they can improve and how much they if there's maybe a jump in it, but a jump in production. But UCLA's pass defense is still a bit of a weakness. So I'm pretty sure Kyle Whittingham knows that, and that's probably where he's going to attack. That's what I would do.
I would certainly agree with you. As talented as the young quarterback is, there's another key word in there. He's young. If you can rattle his confidence, if you can, drop him for some sacks a few times, if you can knock down a few passes and suddenly he's second guessing himself and you throw off that, even offense and UCLA is having to go and run the ball the majority of the time, it could mess things up. And Utah's got, a decent, run defense, especially with, their linebackers are very, very good. And if their defensive end is firing on all cylinders like it was against Florida, it could be tough. Last question here for you, Mike. What's your prediction? Who's winning and what's your score?
I think UCLA is on a roll right now, and they use this non-conference to maybe workshop a little, try to figure out who's strongest at all positions, and to really get a game plan going for this new offense and defense. And just with the question of if Rising is going to play, if he's going to play, and if he's 100%, if he's 90%, that's something that I think UCLA is definitely planning for. And with that being said, I think UCLA can pull this off, mostly because I think a lot of people are counting them out, and that they will. I'm thinking it's going to be close, but I'm going UCLA 38, Utah 30. Sorry.
No, we want the honesty and to be completely honest with you, Mike, I think you nailed it. This is the first true test for both teams, and just looking at things and how good the offense looks even under a freshman quarterback, and how good the defense was, and looking at last year's result. I mean, UCLA was able to beat Utah, pretty easily in most aspects of that game. They stopped their offensive weapons, and Cam Rising, he's a question mark still, and if he doesn't play, the Bruins have even a better shot, and even with him, it's going to be tough. So, sorry to all our listeners out there, but I'm going to have to go with Mike here. I think UCLA might be upsetting Utah at home for the first time in quite a few years. I do think it's going to be close. I think it's coming down to 7 to 10 points. I won't be shocked if either team wins, but if I do have to pick, I think I'm going to go with UCLA in the upset. Mike, thanks so much, man. This was amazing. The insight that you brought was just fantastic to know so much about this new age UCLA team, right? Post DTR, there's so much to break apart, to analyze. We really appreciate it. Again, Mike from the Bruin Report coming on. Fans can follow him on Twitter. Mike, where can people find your stuff if they're looking for more UCLA content this week?
I'm at Mike Regalado LA, or search for Mike Regalado, and I'm there giving my sports opinions, and as well as I sprinkle in some musical tidbits, just because I get bored. But that's where you can check it out, and all of our work at Bruin Report on the Twitter or X or whatever it's called. That's where you can find it.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. It'll be a fun game. Are you making the trip out to Utah?
No, I'm doing this one remote.
Gotcha. Well, we hope to have you at some point. Maybe at a bowl game we'll meet up sometime, since the two teams are going to be in different conferences. But we'll see how it goes. And we appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too.